trying to ensure the safety and freedom of all Kenyans who had been arrested. There are so many people out there living in pain inflicted by the police. It could be mental health or just desolation. Please come out. Let our experienced team of experts offer psychosocial support to help you heal. Today we begin here at the historic Ufungamano House. We are coming to you all around the country. The Law Society of Kenya, together with all our partners here, have membership across the country, and with the support of our various branches and offices, have remained zealous and steadfast at protecting the Constitution. If we work together in this, then our defenseless families will not shed tears in vain. As a mother and a lawyer, I stand here today with a heavy heart of what we have seen the last few weeks, the numerous calls that I've received, those in distress, even at very wee hours of the morning. It shows to you the waning strength of so many members of the public. Though in fear, some struggling, some in despair, but yet our young generation are still coming out strongly and firmly, affirming that we are standing for accountability, transparency, we are fighting corruption. We want to see a positive change in our government. Those who have been coming out are loyal patriots of this country. They are standing to see a change. They are the same James Orengos and amongst others who came to fight for multi-party democracy. This is a fight against corruption, a fight for accountability, a fight for transparency, which we must embrace as a nation to move forward together. Even in commemorating those of us who are no longer among us, it would be remiss of me not to appreciate each and every one of your zealous, ingenious, persistent, and unified sacrifice for our country. You are ridiculed, underestimated, threatened, and vilified, all in an attempt to break your resolve to reclaim your country. Through it all, you remained peaceful and focused on the noble objective of standing for what is right and what you deserve. Your courage is unparalleled, your patriotism unchallenged, and your unity against all political barriers unprecedented. You are exactly what you think you are. You are the heroes of today. The irrefutable gains of what you people stand for shines a bright ray of hope upon the future of our country. If you do not believe it yet, allow me to confirm to you that you people have achieved what many dreamed of and wished for, but few realized. A weak and unreliable parliament betrayed you, the people who they swore to represent you. Mlianguka now. A punitive tax regime was forced down the throats of Kenyans despite public outcry against the repressive finance bill. Mlianguka nayo. The political elite unified to run Kenya down the rabbit hole of treachery and deceit to deviate you from your resolve to bring change to Kenya. Namely, an ineffective, incompetent, and arrogant cabinet represented impunity and refused to work for the people from whom the power they exercised. And once again, today marks a crucial step in our progressive journey towards real sustainable change for our country. This is the onset of a series of deliberations by sovereign citizens of Kenya to reflect on who, where, and what we are as a country. The preamble to our constitution defines who we are. Article 10 prescribes what we ought to be, and the entirety of our constitution in its brilliant magnificence envisions where we ought to be as a nation. However, time without number, those to whom we have bestowed power and trust to deliver to us the dream of Katiba 2010 have failed us. Tumewapatia lakini wamekataa kuperform. Kenya finds itself in a constitutional moment. one where the people have reclaimed their sovereignty and are ready to rid of any individual, institution, or entity that jeopardizes the well-being of the country and defies constitutional principles. What started as demonstrations against the Finance Bill 2024 has spun into a domino effect that gives us an opportunity for change that is ours to lose. Shida zetu zikianguka bado, lazima zimeingia one leg. It is thanks to this realization that the Law Society of Kenya, all our partners and stakeholders have taken the obvious step to join all of you in forging the path on which we want our country set. Thank you for embracing us. Thank you for allowing us to stand with you, and thank you for allowing us to be part of you. My speech was quite long, but I wanted to also highlight that we have seen changes in the Police Service Commission. We have seen so many trainings, but now we are saying we are going to hold you accountable. We are not going to sit and start discussing a way forward for training, better institutions for police. It's time for accountability. It's time that those who have been given power and have abused it to be held accountable. That's why we are here today, to count everyone and ensure no one is left behind. That when we are challenged that who are these people, where were they hurt, which place, we'll be able to table credible evidence as advocates and our different partners, that will be able to put this at the table. That should be part of the discussion. Any dialogue must start with information and telling us these number of people that we have collected, this data, what are you doing about it? And we know that IPOA will be coming today, that IPOA may also take responsibility and take that mantle. We will not allow you to continue to fail us as a people of Kenya. You must also take up your place and hold any police officers that have been identified, have been seen. You can't tell us that you cannot find them, yet our Gen Zs, our millennials, our youth, our fellow Kenyans are able to trace them and to find their details and have shared them with you, but you refuse to do your work. To independent institutions, the judiciary, constitutional commissions, independent officers, and statutory bodies, it is high time you stand up to be counted. People have been killed by police, but IPOA is yet to act. People have been outed for corrupt conduct by EACC is yet to institute relevant proceedings. The helplessness feigned by our institution is the greatest enabler for the tribulations we face. The hesitation and refusal by proper mandated authorities to take action in the face of subversion of the rule of law and constitutional principles is the reassurance upon which our aggressors act with impunity. Government frustration and refusal to cooperate are in no way, shape, form, or fashion unacceptable excuse. The people are with you, they will support you, they will help you finish the job, but only if you start doing it and doing it well. Na hata nyinyi mkikataa, Wakenya mtafanya nini? Lastly, to the political leadership and elected representatives, there is no honor higher than being chosen by the people to serve your country. That honor requires delicate, deliberate, impartial, and accountable exercise of that authority that is donated to you. Hubris and bravado are vices that have no place in the Kenya of today. The people of Kenya awake to their full authority as the true sovereign, and their realization of the beauty of their unity draws the curtains on divisive ethnic politics that has historically been endemic in this Kenyan's politics. It's time to become leaders, not rulers. It is time to represent and serve the people, not to be demigods desperate for constant praise and worship. It is time to act, not making unyielding promises. Henceforth, contempt for the people will neither go unnoticed nor remain unresolved. Gen Z wame? Ini tofauti. Gen Z wamegotha? We will not believe, you will not believe. From the Law Society of Kenya and all our partners, we make our solemn understanding that what we have done over the last few weeks have been fueled by the strength we have drawn from your courage. For as long as you stand for what you believe is just, fair, and right before the law, we will stand for you and will fight for you. Join me in this final prayer, the prayer for our forefathers, the Father, the prayer of our nation. We say the first stanza of our national anthem in English. O God of all creation, bless this our land and nation. Justice be our shield and defender. May we dwell in unity, peace, and liberty. Plenty be found within our borders. I pray that God bless you and God bless Kenya. Really? Come, you guys come. Come, Steve.
I hope all our heads will fit inside. Let me come on this side. Let me come on the other side of it. Will we all fit? We are here now.
Were we going back down?
Do we go back or stay?
Oh, I think you guys are finished.
Where's the next panel here?
Yeah. What are Twitter in case they need us?
Hi, how are you? Nice to see you. Well done for this. From the last 3 days.
What I do?
All right, okay. Thank you very much to everyone. Really appreciate
Just stand by.
President, perhaps the best president this country has ever seen. A better round of applause for Madam President, please. And absolutely, really great, the comments and seeing what we have to do today. I'd like to call us back to attention because we have a lot to cover today. My name is James Smart. Allow me to welcome all of you again for the second panel. On this second panel, we have Dr. Willie Mutunga, who's joining us on X-Space, the famous X-Space. All right, let's listen to Dr. Willie Mutunga, former retired Chief Justice. All right, Dr. CJ, please give us your comments.
Gen Z and millennials, thank you very much for what you are doing. There is, I'm in Kabarak actually, and there is a joke going around here, which I think I should tell you. Apparently, the president is going around looking for a general called General Z. This reminds me of Idi Amin going to the central bank looking for one of the workers who was called foreign exchange, who was never around in Uganda, and they wanted to kill him. So my comment, there are two comments that I want to make, and I've made them in other spaces. One is that what happened the other day, and I think this has been discussed, so I'm just reinforcing what we have always said for a long time, that the factions that rule Kenya cannot be described in the way we describe them as that there's one, faction that is the lesser evil, and that we have to choose evil. They have come together. They've shown that they are birds of the same political feather, and they have identified themselves as the enemy of the people. And that's progress, because we have had for the last 60 years or so the politics of division and the politics of monetization, which you must avoid, at all costs. And you have started a revolution. There's no doubt about that. And we wait and, we hope that you continue your political demands to emphasize, the concerns of your material interests and needs, education, health, jobs, struggles against foreign domination, housing, everything that is important for your existence. You posters have captured those particular issues in a revolutionary manner. I've loved the calls, or the clarion calls, which you have called occupations. Even the occupation of IMF, and the World Bank, making that connection between our rulers and our external rulers is very, very, very important if we are going to carry on this revolution to its successful change. So I also want to praise you for breathing life into the Constitution. We have a Constitution that is fairly progressive, but we gave it to leaders who find it inconvenient and they don't want to implement it. But you've come to the scene, and you're basically saying that you want to exercise our sovereign power directly. And I think that's what is reflected in the various calls for occupations, whether it's the occupation of parliament, occupation of state house, occupation of I guess the judiciary and all the institutions. So these are great clarion calls, and so I just want to finish by again glorifying what you're doing and asking you to keep your eyes on the prize, avoid divisions, because the people you are dealing with, or the class you are dealing with, you should never underestimate them. They are geniuses in politics of division, ethnicity, religion, and if that doesn't work, they also got plenty of money to stop this particular movement. So thank you very much. Aluta continua, and victory is certain. Thank you.
Thank you very much, retired Chief Justice Dr. William Mutunga. They are giving us his thoughts. Let's get straight into it and introduce my panel for what we need to do next. Hussein Khalid, please join me on the stage. Irungi Houghton as well, join me on the stage. And Gloria Kimani of LSK Council member, also join me on the stage. A round of applause, please, as they join me on stage. So for this panel, what we'd like to do is we want to capture reflections of what has happened in these last 4 weeks. There's been reported police excesses, there's been disappearance, abductions, illegal arrests, killings, injuries, and that sort of thing. And we haven't spent time as a country to capture exactly what has happened. What does that mean? In essence, are we saying that protesting is an illegal thing in this country? And if it's not, why did we see the reactions that we saw? Let me start with you, Hussein Khalid.
Thank you very much, Smart. And let me first of all congratulate everyone and the entire country. Comrades power! Comrades power! We're doing it, we're changing this country, and moving forward, things will never be the same. So I'll just speak briefly about my experiences on the ground as, a person who has been, visiting families, visiting the sick in hospital. I think there have been gross human rights violations in the last couple of weeks. Many families have suffered, continue to suffer. We have an entire ward at the Kenyatta National Hospital of victims of police excesses, and that's just one hospital. We have many other hospitals in different parts, not just of Nairobi, but of the entire country that have people who are sick. Up to now, we're still trying to understand the magnitude of the violations that have been meted out on Kenyans. I think in the midst of everything, we get, taken up by the success, the dismissal of the cabinet, the withdrawal of the finance bill, and we forget to remember that people have paid with their lives and limbs for us to be where we are today, and they must never be forgotten. In a number of instances, some were even, approached. I remember we were at the burial of David Chege, and the police officers were there. And we had just gone there to drape the coffin with the flag and to give another flag to the family. And the propaganda that was going around was that this is supposed to be for the KDF only, this, the flagging of the coffins and everything. And they were told that if you bury your person with the flag, the government will later come, to exhume and get the flag. So there are things that are being said out there that are completely out of line. And I think it's important for us, and we were discussing, to remind Kenyans that this is an opportunity. We are supposed to be extremely lucky and, honored to be living in these times. Because no other generation, this moment has never been there. So what we need to do is to continue encouraging each other and pushing each other forward. I think it was Kindiki who said that, the financiers, fellow criminals, power! Fellow criminals, power! And I remember they were threatening us, I don't know who, the financiers, the organizers, the planners, you will face the consequences. Well, guess what? Hatutishiki, sindio? Nani ameanguka, sini wao ameanguka. So we are saying, this is a moment, and each and every one of us can play a role. The question that we need to ask, what are you doing to bring forward this change?
Okay, Hussein, I'd like to come back to you shortly, but I want to get to Gloria first on the question of the flags and the killings and those who lost the limbs. But Gloria, on the question of people getting arrested for protesting, I remember seeing the first day or the Tuesday, droves and droves of people getting picked up and being put, in police vehicles, carted away to police stations. I want you to talk to me about this moment, about what does that moment mean legally, and what was the violation with that moment, and why do we keep seeing it?
Thank you so much, Alan, for that. And I would like to say that the Law Society of Kenya has, that day, it was a sad day for us, because that Tuesday, what happened was we had gone for a memorial for Honorable Monica, who was killed in the hands of the police. And we were called and we were told, we even had not set up the toll-free line for people to call advocates. And we were called that there are some advocates who have been arrested and they're in Central Police Station. And we asked ourselves the pertinent question. That time I remember we were with Steve and Tess, and we asked ourselves the question, why are we going to release only lawyers while people who have been peacefully demonstrating have been arrested? And I think we had a discussion with the president, and she said, yes, let's go bail them out. And I remember when going there, we didn't expect what we saw on that day. So we went to the police station, and we actually asked to be given the list of the people who have been arrested and their charges. And I remember it was a back and forth, and now lawyers from certain groups were called, come, let's release these people. And actually when they saw lawyers there, they saw us as a threat, because we are going to release the people who have been causing trouble, quote unquote, trouble to them. So when we went there, we tried talking, they tried calling the president and saying, just tell your people to go till 6 p.m. And we asked them, why till 6 p.m. Has the law been suspended till 6 p.m. that we can only release people after 6 p.m.? And when we demanded to stay with the people who have been arrested in the police station, they threw tear gas at us. I remember even one of our council members, Otto, they threw a canister, the tear gas canister, at her. So the lawyers have been really harassed in this whole process. We saw even the other day in Nanyuki, where they had gone to actually take, because this guy, I think Lewis, they were looking for Lewis, and they were harassing him, going to his home, banging his door. And they decided, okay, let's take him to the police station. And when they went, they were all chased away. Lawyers were chased away, and they were told, no, we want to speak to Lewis alone. And they said no. And it became a commotion. And they started beating the lawyers and chasing them out of the police station. So what does it mean? It is very lawful, especially for what had been happening in the first times of the demonstration, where people were coming out peacefully. They are just with their water bottles, they are just singing, chanting, and they were not causing any kind of fracas. And I think the government had not seen such kind of a thing. They thought everything will be organized, will be uniform, but when they saw large numbers coming, and they were wondering, how can we contain these numbers? Because they thought it will just be like the normal ones, and by 2 p.m. they're at home, or 3 they're at home. So I think we need to defend the Constitution, and we are saying peaceful protesters, and that is the case we have seen all through. Peaceful protesters are being arrested, and that is what we are standing for, that you cannot just be arrested for exercising your right.
Right.
Yeah.
Irungu, to keep up on this space, the police not only threw tear gas, but they were shooting live ammunition, rubber bullets, beating up protesters. But most importantly, we also saw police without uniform, completely face covered up, somehow mingling with the protesters, and they would arrest, shoot, and perhaps some of those abductions happen in these moments. I want to ask you about what should the police be doing during protests, and what we just went through, just how illegal this whole is, and what can we do anything about it, or it's just a matter of, well, we reflect and then you say, well, that something bad has really happened, we need to move on.
So the illegalities in terms of policing that we saw over the last month or so did not start then. I think we have to go back to 2023, we have to go back to 2017, and we have to ask, why is it in a point where the state is being challenged on the basis of corruption, on the basis of inequality, on the basis of impunity? Why does the state respond so violently to peaceful protest? And as Amnesty International, we monitored with the Kenya Medical Association and Law Society, and of course many organizations here under the auspices of the Police Reforms Working Group. And we saw the pattern of policing essentially was to destroy the possibility of a peaceful protest. How that starts is commanding officers failing to accept letters of notification. The second thing that happens is you arrest anybody you suspect to be an organizer. Now, what is a protest organizer? A protest organizer is also a marshal. It is the person who makes sure that when we write a letter to the OCS and we say, we are going to move from this point to this point, we are going to approach this government office, and we are going to hand over a petition here. That is the person that controls the crowds. So once you take those two quick actions, you immediately send a protest into confusion. And we have said this so many times to commanding officers, to the more senior police officers, that as soon as you disrupt that process, you have thrown a peaceful protest into something that is not provided for within Article 37. The second stage is to have police officers coming like criminals, either in balaclavas or without identification, or with vehicles that have 4 or 5 license plates, and they embed themselves. They pretend to be protesters in order to arrest protesters, or they pretend to be journalists in order to arrest journalists, or they tear gas medical officers. This is what we saw this time, where we set up pop-up emergency clinics, essentially for medics, volunteers, not even paid by government, to basically provide treatment, not just to protesters, but to bystanders and also police officers, let's not forget. And what happens is you tear gas them, you arrest people like Brandon, you then seize their medical records so that they can't even follow up with patients. And then the question is, for me, is actually who is behaving as if this is a riot? Who is providing the riotous activity? Who are the criminals that need to be prosecuted? So to end this point, I think there are many things that we need to do. We need to crowdsource, identify those officers. We need to bring cases against those particular officers individually, plus their commanding officers, to ensure that they are held accountable, not just for the deaths, not just for the injuries that Hussein has spoken about, but even for the violation of the right to protest and the right to expression. The previous panel spoke about the horror of having people coming to collect them in the middle of the night. That also needs to be prosecuted, because the freedom of expression is what makes us human beings. It is not just that the Constitution protects it, but you are not a human being if you cannot think independently, if you cannot articulate yourself, and if you cannot take action in order to protect a Constitution that we all voted for.
Okay, right. So I want to go back to the point about, and we sort of systematically talk about not just the people, but the role of the flag, as you had brought it up. And my question is this: who owns the Kenyan flag?
Hiyo ni swali rahisi sana. Kenyan flag belongs to the people of Kenya. It's not a government item. It's not. It's ours. When you talk of black, it's us. It's the color of our skin. When you talk of red, it's the blood shed, and we continue to shed to this moment, to this very day. And green is our land, you know. So I mean, I find it absurd for anyone to even imagine or to tell us that you can't do this. This is a preserve of a few individuals, only the leaders. These are today's Mau Maus. When you are Mekufa, we are seated here today having this conversation here at Fungamano in their honor, because they died so that we can be here today. And one thing I want to communicate is that even with the families that we have been going to, you know, you can see that, you know, that resolve and that pride that they have. When you go there with the flag and you're draping the flag over the coffin, and they say, wow, our son did not die for nothing. He didn't just die like that. He died truly fighting for this country. And when you go to the family, when you're handing over the flag, you can actually feel, you know, everyone there holding the mother, the father, the family in pride. So later, wasitutishe hiyo tunawaambia, you know, anyone we need to hang. In other countries, people hang these flowers in their backyards. They are there on their doors. And here we are being told that if you display the flag or if you put it sijui, it's an offense. My foot, I mean, we can't have that. Wasitutishie, this is our country, and that is why we need to reclaim. For me, I'm a grassroots person. I'm not much of a talker. But you know, everyone, this is the time. Hakuna kitu yenye hatuwezi fanya. Hata kama kila mtu anataka ice cream, sasa tunaenda tunaambia serikali hiyo tax, nunulia kila mtu ice cream. I mean, you can't tell us anything. So not just the flag, everything, even the emblem. Ukitaka kuvaa kofia uweke nini, it is yours. So hiyo mambo ya kutishana, that fear is gone. When we lose our fear, thank you very much.
Gloria, same question. What is this problem with flag, and why do we have this sense of belief, and especially the security forces and the guys who run government, that they own this item, exclusively theirs?
Sorry?
They think they own this item. It's a government product.
One, we need to remember it's a symbol of this country. And if it was illegal, I think I'll be the first one in this place, Kushikwa.
Some illegalities
I have
here.
used it, yes, I have used it as a lesson, but not necessarily, but showing my patriotism to this country. We walk around with the bracelets, the Kenyan bracelets, but it has never been a problem. Everyone in the UK, you can identify a Kenyan from one when you just see that bracelet. But right now, when we are using it at this time, it becomes a problem. Then I think we are not the problem, they are the problem, and I think they should deal with it. And this is just speaking because we have had, we see people putting the flags on their cars. Right now, they're even ashamed of putting those flags in their cars because we will flag them that tutaanguka now. So I think it is not a problem right now. And carrying your flag is patriotism. They did it very proudly, and now we are the ones saying we the people are taking it proudly, and we are carrying our flags, and let them know that we have the power in our hands. And I think one of them, the symbol, is our flag.
Irungu, same question, and I will come to the audience to get some reactions to it, and also we are doing this on Space and live on NTV as well, so we'll go to that to get your comments, and this is our conversation of the Irungu, the same question really about this piece of item, the flag.
Let me step back and then come back to the flag. So in a crisis, all nations have three choices. The first is to twist towards constitutionalism, the second is to twist towards authoritarianism, and then the third choice is anarchy. Now, what this movement has done has twisted towards constitutionalism. In constitutionalism, there are things that are non-negotiable. One of the non-negotiables is the Constitution, that all our actions, all our thoughts are captured in that place that we call a Bill of Rights. And it is clear to me when I saw those crowds marching with constitutions and police officers without a single constitution among them, but with batons, I began to see the righteousness of what was happening on our streets. Consider that in a context where the state wants to disenfranchise you, the first thing it will do is it will tell you there are certain symbols of patriotism, of nationhood that do not belong to you. The flag does not belong to you. It is okay if you don't take a voter's card, or you lose your ID and don't bother to get another one, or you don't volunteer in a school clinic, in a school nearby you, or you do not volunteer in a clinic to oversee a public resource that keeps our people safe and dignified, or you don't volunteer at all. That is what a state tries to do, to remove that section in the Constitution that has expressed itself so loud in the last 3 weeks, and that is Article 1. If you do not seize this moment, not just as I think it was the president who spoke about this. If we do not seek this moment, if we do not grab this moment as a moment for the third liberation, then we are going to squander this moment more generally. So I would say to those cabinet secretaries that are waiting, that are lobbying, and perhaps if they follow the same route that they took in 2027 and 22, that are beginning to put money together to buy a cabinet secretary seat, if they do not come with new ways of working, then consider they have come to reap where they did not sow. And they are coming essentially not to build on this constitutional movement, but to take us back to a place that we did not want to do. So wear your flag. If necessary, have a flag, have an outfit made from the flag, and let's walk around with underwear, trousers, t-shirts, and jackets.
Okay, great. Let's get a reaction from Space. I think Masika is online. Masika, could you tell us what your reflections of this protest were? And then I will come to the audience here to get their reflections as well.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate. I hope I'm audible enough.
You're great.
Yeah, so I really appreciate that we are having the Citizen Assembly, and one of the key things that we note clearly is that things have changed, times have changed. We are no longer in the olden days. I was listening that bit on the police and the police upholding the law. And maybe one of the things that the LSK can be helping us to know, because I think the police are enforcing the law, but they don't know the law. Because when you ask a police officer why they are arresting you, some of them clearly do not know even the procedure of arresting, whether you're a criminal or a suspect or something like that. Do they have it in their curriculum? Because these guys go in the training camps to do martial arts, to do work on how to use batons to beat up people. But when you ask a police officer to uphold the law when they are arresting you, do they have the knowledge of applying that law? So for me, that has been a question, because the problem with the police begins at the time of recruitment, because you look at even the people that the recruiters are looking for, then you clearly know that is where the rain starts beating us. Me personally, I did very well in O-level, and I wanted to join the police, but I was removed from the line because I was told that I needed to go to university and study. But I needed to become a police officer, whether I started as a serviceman and then later on be promoted, but they refused because of my grade in Form 4. So one of the things that we need to push, even as right now, because our voices are being heard, and this is how it's going to be, can we have anybody, even if I got an A in Form 4 and I want to become a police officer, I be allowed to become a police officer at whatever level I'm beginning? Because we have graduates who got A's and they do not have jobs and they're doing border work. So if I got an A and I want to become a police officer, they should allow me to join the forces. Because one of the things that we are battling with is some of the guys that I'm not saying that if you scored less in Form 4, you don't have brains, but clearly most of the people that we meet in the police and they are arresting you, you can clearly tell that they do not even have the ability to engage with you and tell you why they are arresting you. They just come using muscles and power. So one, I think the police do not have the knowledge of the same law they follow only commands that they are given. So when you say you're doing a peaceful demonstration according to Article 37 and you're not destroying any property, is that police officer who is arresting you aware that there's such Article 37 in the Constitution? Because that is where the rain begins beating us. Can we have the law, part of the law trained to the police officers who enforce the law? And then arrest, I want to think, arrest should be done in the open, and somebody should be notified, because we are having abductions and the police are picking people from the street and their homes. Can we have, if you arrest me, please allow me to notify my family members that you have arrested me and where are you taking me? So as I finish on that police thing, I think the failure of the police starts at the place where you're recruiting them, and it also continues because of the curriculum they use to train the police officers. And then when I come on the flag thing, the flag is a national symbol. The same way we sing national anthems. I have a national anthem on my phone as the ringtone. Why am I not being questioned? The Constitution, I think, is Article 9 just says national symbols. It says the coat of arms, the national anthem, the flag. It is patriotism for me to put on, like somebody saying, I can even do an underwear showing the national flag. It is the love of my country and the symbols that represent my country. So I think on the flag thing, it's an intrusion. We can use the flag in whichever way, as long as we are not disrespecting it. We're just using it to show the love that we have for the country.
Thank you very much. I need to hand over the microphone to one person next, then I come back here. Sylvia Ngati. Sylvia, if you can take 1 minute and give us your reflection as well. Do I still have Sylvia? All right, meanwhile, let me just give the gentleman here the microphone. Please say your name, stand up, say your name and tell us what your reflections are.
Thank you very much. Comrades power. Now I want us to do it a little differently. When I say people power, you say our power. People power.
Our power.
People power.
Our power.
Our power.
People power.
I want to make quick reflections. My name is Musila John Muisio, and I coordinate a social movement. This is the Activista movement, but I'm equally a member of the Kibera Social Justice Center. And there is a panel that came just before your panel, and these guys were speaking there, Billy, Nadia, and the other. And all they did before was to be on social media. They just used to tweet on things that pleases them. And for the first time being on social media, attracted problems to them, that they were abducted and all that. And I wanted to ask them a question, and I think I still need to ask a question to the room. Would they have seen themselves in a state that they've seen themselves, or found themselves now? And the obvious answer could have been no. If it were me or Apiolal and a few others, being arrested today will not be a scare to us because we've been on the streets a number of times. Some of us have been arrested and all that. What has really happened with this movement, it has redefined what human rights defense is. This is not a career. Human rights defense is everyone's call to be an active citizen and demand service, demand accountability from its government. And so when I see young people today, every day spending every second on social media to just speak on issues of accountability from their government, I am so elated because it is no longer about a few who held the title human rights defense. But before I sit down, I want to make another just quick reflection. You've seen just the other day that the opposition joined the president to try and protect their interest. In 1975, before J.M. Kariuki was killed, he made a very simple statement that Kenya had become a country of 10 millionaires and 10 million beggars. Now today, the beggars have united against the millionaires of this country. And all they are saying, enough of you taking advantage of us. And it started very simply by rejecting the finance bill. So my last statement, smart as I sit down. The framers of the Constitution 2010, and I will read because I have posted it on my Twitter, said but a few things. That the greatest threat to liberty in Kenya is an all-powerful central government where only a few dictate the many. We've seen what the president has done in even curtailing the powers of our National Assembly, our legislature, which is a separate wing of government that should be holding this same executive to account. And this is because he is taking us back to an all-powerful central government, which the Constitution actually is against. But they were equally very cautious to realize that the rule of the mob, which is unguided at times, will lead to anarchy and, in the end, despotism. I know as a country that respects its constitution, we wouldn't want to get there. So as we've been pushing, we are equally very cautious not to allow anyone an excuse to say, I turned this country into a military state because the mob did not want to be guided. I turned this country into a dictatorship because the mob insisted into it. So we are pushing, demanding for good governance, demanding for accountability. We are not relenting because, as always, people power is greater than the people in power. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. Just give the microphone to the gentleman in a suit at the back.
Thank you. Viva, comrade, viva. Viva. Amandla. Amen. Thank you so much. Comrade, I just have an observation in form of a question. That, of course, we are doing well with the national government. But there's a group of people who are really devolved and in touch with our people, or the proletariats in the villages back in the counties. I was saying that, comrades, let's not forget the counties. That is the people who are also interacting with our people back there in the villages. So after this struggle comes from the national, we go back to the county government so that we fight this nepotism and fight for transparency and accountability. I want specifically to appreciate Aki Africa. I was there, smart, I'm traumatized up to date. This guy is so quiet. I don't know what he's using. I'm shocked. They took me to a mortuary. I ran away with this gentleman during Rex and Evans postmortem. I don't know you are made of what. All those parents were crying on their chests. I was shocked to see them still walking. I was shocked on the hardest day of the strike. You know, on Thursday, few people came. Among the few who came, and Shakira and the rest, now to notify us and to get us very, very easy on Thursday. I remember those guys were going to an extent of tear gassing where people were being treated. You are just wondering, what kind of human being is this? This is a place where people are now being treated, please. And they're even going ahead to tear gas a petrol station. We are at the corner of the total there. It was quite unfortunate. Please, comrades, the question I wanted to ask with care and with utmost humility, how can we organize this struggle in a way that we don't lose the gains made and we don't lose the focus? Because if we end up in the morning, someone is saying we fight for this, fight for that, fight for this, fight for positions, then we are going to lose this focus, and these guys are going to run away with all the gains that we have done, what? We have made. So I was just pleading with those in the panel, if you can guide the conversation to a clear focus, because now there are also political rivals who are taking advantage of this thing. Like someone is planning to vie for 2027. What is the next thing? 20 to Salami and Ani. You're getting? Not for the struggle, but for the narrow, self-seeking interest. That was my plea. Otherwise, Aki Africa, may God bless you. And I'm pleading, colleagues who are seated there, how can you debrief? I'm a teacher by profession. Some people who came for the struggle didn't even know the road. I was shocked, someone asking me, amefika Ngara anauliza wapi barabara ya kwenda Kabete. You can tell you. When we are taking that roundabout to Nyayo, wale waliangusha fence, those who are falling down, wale waliona, they are still, I still feel the smell of blood mpaka saizi. So how can we debrief these people by cancelling them? Because some people may also turn violent after this one, because some wengine wako wamezoea that kind of exposure. I remember one girl alitoka tu nyuma tu akaanza kupiga kelele na nduru, watu wakimfuata. Watu wakimfuata tu nyuma tu. Ni kama ako possessed. So how can you also organize that? We have centers, we communicate where these people can come and we get guidance and counseling. May God bless the struggle.
Thank you. Can you take your brief as well and keep it a minute or less?
Yes, I'll make it very brief. Comrades power. Comrades power. Now, I want us to trace the bullet that was in David Chege's head. Back to the trigger, to the magazine, to the command, Adamson Bugay, to Japheth Kome, and we make it very clear where the accountability stops. My point is this. The person who is ultimately responsible for all the death, the destruction, is the president. Okay? Let's not make excuses. Let's not say the police, the police, the police. They are individually culpable. But ultimately, it's the president who takes responsibility. Ruto must go. Ruto must go. As I finish, I think the problem we have, and I'll put this to the panel, I think we have a country that is lacking ideology. And please, civil society, help us define the ideology for this revolution. Because we have inherited a system, colonial government and governments after, where governance is about brutality, repression, plunder, and pillage. So can we have an ideology moving forward so that when we fight, when we occupy spaces, we're occupying spaces knowing the Kenya that we are fighting for is defined by this certain set of values. Otherwise, without values, we'll get back, certain politicians will come back, and we'll have the same battle over and over again. Thank you. Ruto must go.
All right. Can I get ladies in the room, please? So bring the microphone to the front. Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's good afternoon, I think. My name is Mirna. I'm a forensics specialist. I've had the privilege of working for government, working outside of government, and now I work as a consultant, and I'm sure Hussein is laughing because he knows there's a place we met. I have a question, slightly, the two issues. He brought up a forensic issue, but my question, I think it's just an issue of reflection. Since the start of the protests, I've been wondering And when I go into every office, I see the picture of the president. I don't mean any disrespect, but is that also a symbol of that is compulsory? You understand? Like, I wonder why I don't see the picture, a framed, beautiful picture of the Constitution of Kenya, of the preamble signed by the Kibaki. I mean, that is what we give the president to uphold. That is his custodianship in terms of mandate when you are a president. So I think we have to do away with the frills, with that kind of, self-aggrandizement, idolatry somewhat, because it's also, it's behavior modification. You keep seeing this image. And instead of seeing the Constitution, instead of seeing the rules by which we want to govern ourselves as a society, we see a person. And so none of us can get away with seeing this person, either at national government level, offices, public offices, private sector offices, county governments. I think it's time for us to put the symbols of power by the people where they should be, and the symbols that need to be transitioned out, as my dear comrade has said, is then moved towards what's the ideology of this revolution. I would say we need accountable governance. We don't just need governance, we have governance. We try to use elections to eliminate people. I would say this, eliminate them out of the competition. Elections have been used to vote people out, but we don't vote in the person we want because we don't see the person we want. We are just left with two choices and we choose the lesser, I don't want to say it. Someone said the other day that mababas wa Eve, So, we can't do that anymore. And when I think about all these things, I'm just like, this country is a beautiful country. We have, with everything that has happened, we are here. We are a regional power. We are respected. And we need to move forward from that. But we are now stuck because there is no accountable governance mechanisms in every agency of government, parastatals, sagas, and our priorities are just simply upside down, and our foreign policy is dictated not by us, but by others. And I'm like, we cannot continue like that. We don't want to be the princes that are being ruled by fools. I worked in government for many years. Merit is secondary or tertiary to networks and connections. You cannot change the system from the inside. I tried. I was in government for more than 11 years. You cannot climb. In all those years, I never saw a budget. We were never told, write a budget. You don't prepare for results. What is a planning for results process, or what they would call the equivalent performance contracting. And so it's hard to even appraise people. When people come and say, okay, what have you done? Where is your appraisal? There's no appraisal, right? So I think the ideology should be accountable governance, and if we want justice and we want independent investigations, when I say forensic, say evidence management. Forensic. Evidence management. Who is in charge of evidence management in this country? You cannot have the potential perpetrator be the same person as the investigator. And right now, the National Forensic Lab is in the hand of the National Police Service.
All right.
So you cannot investigate crime and conduct the scientific analysis of that evidence.
Okay.
So half the evidence is sitting with families, and we are here, outside the system, and half the evidence is inside the system.
Thank you very much. I have decisions to make. I have many people on space, and I have many people here. And I have audience here. Do I have a lady? I'll come back. Don't worry. We're here. I'll come back. let me go to space, get one comment, because they're also participating and they want to be here. Daniel, if you can make your comments in a minute or less. Do we have Daniel? Okay, so we'll come back. But let me just get quick reactions to this so that we move the conversation forward. Start with you, Irungu. I'm told Daniel is here. Daniel, can you hear us? Please make your comment. Yes.
Thank you so much. So I want to go one step back and look at the Constitution. So when we inaugurated the Constitution, what we did was that we changed who has power. We clarified that, we the people, right? And what's happening now and what you're seeing in this movement, we want to now define and clarify what power does, because now it's clear who has the power, we the people. And going forward, this movement continues to clarify, what power does. Now, what we need to do going forward, I think, this is my opinion, is that we need to make being in public or being in public office so undesirable for somebody who doesn't like to be made accountable. So undesirable such that the only people who get attracted to those offices are people who are open and are willing to account. And that's the biggest problem that we have with corruption. And that's the biggest problem that we have with the police and so on and so forth. Now, one question before I go, and this is a question to the panel. I'd like to understand, we are the children of Kibaki. We came, this generation millennials and Generation Z. We came with a free education, and I said this in my TED Talk a few years back, that we have had a 360-degree Kenyan experience. Unlike our parents, we have the full consciousness of feeling Kenyan. Many of us don't even speak our mother tongue, or our primary languages are national languages. We have lived everywhere in the country, and we have a full 360-degree Kenyan experience. With those digital media, it has culminated with this consciousness of political consciousness. Now, the question is, how can we, going forward, manage this movement? We know that part of the reason why we are seeing many changes is also because we have a debt issue. And the cancelling of the financial bill, and also we've seen that Moody's has also downgraded our credit rating, and we will have a problem with money. And usually when there's austerity and a problem with money, the regime might use that as an excuse to bring some sort of social injustice by denying services to the people who are most needy with the excuse that we don't have money, right? And some reforms can be difficult to push through because the president will say we don't have money. So how are we going to continue making the government accountable, but also waking up the debt issue and managing our country through this very difficult situation? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to start with you, but let me start with Hussein because it's just about to drop off. Hussein, could you just give a quick reaction of what you've had?
Thanks, Matt. And I apologize because I have to dash out to go to the mosque. But I want to agree with Musila John. I think all of us have to be and to make a resolve to become human rights defenders. I think for many years, we've been out there for many years. You're actually protesting, you're protesting on an issue that affects every citizen. And you actually see people in the pavement just watching what you're doing. That has been the culture, that has been the tradition in Kenya for years. But right now, and we have to give credit where it's due, Gen Zs, it doesn't matter what your background is. Awendu ambiwe, mtetezi tutete. They're saying they are the watetezi. Kila mtu, and we have to give credit to the Gen Zs because they've stood up. And they've said, we will take back our country. You know, some of us, we've been arrested, we've been beaten, we've been blacklisted, you know, but then people will just come back and tell you, great, you're doing good work. And continue. And like, isn't this your country? So for the Gen Zs, for that change, we give credit where it's due, and we tell you, hongera, and let's keep on with that. The second point was on debriefing, my brother, very, very true, particularly for the families. We've really been trying to work with the Kenya, I think, Association of Counselors and Mama Kennedy, particularly, for example, the 12-year-old boy who was killed. He had actually asked to go and pick a book. He was supposed to do his homework. One of, I don't know, if you look at the artwork that he does, and the mother keeps looking, and we have to remind ourselves of what has happened. The 16-year-old, the mother is so devastated. I mean, some of us, tunasema, we are in this, but those families that have been affected, please, if you're near a family, if you're near someone who is injured or who has been affected, please reach out. This is the time for us to stand firmly together. You ask yourself, what can I do? There is so much you can do. Just going to visit someone and telling them, umeumia kwa niaba yetu, asante sana, that can make a whole world of difference. So let's be there for each other. Let's be our brothers and sisters keepers. And last but not least, I think we were in one of the funerals, Boniface Mwangi said, let's replace the pictures of the president with the flag. But I think this addition is extremely important, the Constitution. So the flag and the Constitution is what each and every person should have hanging somewhere in our house, not the president's photo. I mean, and we have LSK here. Could you please confirm to us that it is not illegal to have a picture or, the Constitution somewhere in your house or in your business? Is it illegal? It is not illegal. So we make a resolve here today, the Fungamano resolve, that we remove the picture of the president and we put the picture of the flag and of the Constitution of Kenya, and those shall be what we refer to as symbols of national unity. Thank you very much, and I apologize. If you could release me so that I can go for prayers.
Thank you very much, Hussein, and thank you very much for your comments. A round of applause for Hussein as he leaves the panel, please. Please.
I think I'll first respond. The first person asked of the rights of arrested persons and if the police actually do know the rights of arrested persons. I do believe that in their training, it's very extensive that the police actually know the rights of arrested persons and they are taught in their schools or whatever trainings they do. What I think they do is they deliberately choose not to put that into practice. We have had the president here saying they have had trainings among trainings among trainings. And we are saying we don't want trainings anymore. The police have been trained enough and they know. But what they are doing is following a command. And that's what we see. When we go to the police station, I remember even the other day when I was speaking to lawyers, I was telling them, people do not know actually of their right to remain silent when they are actually arrested by the police officers. And this is something I think we should pick up. And we have been saying that human rights defenders and only lawyers are the ones to defend the Constitution. But remember, this was passed by each and every one of us in 2010. And one of it was Article 49, where when you're arrested by a police officer, they are supposed to identify themselves and tell you why they are arresting you. I saw Bonnie laughing here because it is not known in Kenya. So I think it's about time that we take a stand, that we say when you arrest us, you tell us. We have seen now when we said reject finance bill, imeangushwa. Or we have said we need to see a change in leadership, imeangushwa. So I think it's about time that we also bring awareness and let the police know that we are watching. When you arrest us, you're not telling us why you're arresting us. And let us gather and all of us, let's go and defend this person and say they were not given their right to be told of the offense they were charged, they have been arrested with, and they are not being given, we have had here Crazy Nairobian saying he refused to give his passwords. Naka walimsalimia vizuri sana. And we are saying it was his right to remain silent. So it's also, I think, it calls upon also the law society and the civil societies also to teach people of their rights when they are arrested. When the police officer asks you a question, you do not have to respond. When they tell you to do statements, you do not have to, because it is your constitutional right. And right now, we even fear of telling people it is your constitutional right to remain silent, because when they remain silent, we don't know if they are going to die, them exercising their rights, or what. But we need to remember, they cannot kill all of us. They cannot kill all of us, and we are not going to do the police work. Yes, we are not going to do police work, because they are the ones who are supposed to do investigations, not us help them with investigations when they arrest us. So that is also a right. So I think it's good that we hold them accountable. And I think one of the things also they said, we need also to hold individual police officers accountable. I think it has not been done enough in Kenya for police actually to know when you violate or threaten to violate a right for a citizen, you can actually be held accountable. I saw in the Twitter spaces, Baby Pendo, the case was being done, I think was it last week, where Willis was saying those police officers were begging not to be arraigned in court and take plea. This is what we need to see in Kenya. And not after so many years. We have seen from when Baby Pendo died, this is the time they are being taken to court. I think those are the issues we need to hold accountable. The ones who will be held accountable for all this protest and whatever is happening, what we need to ask is quick investigation and them being arraigned in court. Because when we go to the streets, tukishikwa, tunapelekwa immediately, where the investigation, the 1-year inquiry and things like that. I think that is what we need to stand on, and I think we need to stand on business on that and keeping the government accountable.
All right, thank you. Erungu, would you wind this down for us?
So when Denzel Washington saw Will Smith slap the other comedian, he made this comment where he said, "Be careful. At your point of triumph, it is when the devil comes for you." I think for this movement, those words are important. There could be a temptation at this moment to rest, to even become egotistical and to gloat. But we have to recognize that what we're up against is not even individuals. It is a system that is built around the idea that only a few can take decisions on behalf of the many. That idea is unlawful in our Constitution, because Chapter 1 tells us that it is the people that have the power. The problem is that we have a country that is not designed around our Constitution. And we have a Constitution that continues to look for a country that actually reflects the constitutional values in that Constitution. So my word to this movement is to remain inside of the soul that you generated for this country. And that soul was courage, lawfulness, patriotism, and a sense of purpose. So we have to think very carefully about how do we dismantle a system so that other people do not come and confuse us, at the same time keeping the same system that we were worried about. So we have to think about a number of things. As we challenge or as we rebelled against a taxation bill, that taxation bill has to be generated again. We hope it will be a new one. But the question is, are we there at the table to demand what will be in that taxation bill? Do we understand the cycle of budgeting? Because whether it be at the county level or whether it be at the national level, that budgeting process will happen. And the people that you have now challenged, they are waiting for you to go back to sleep. They are waiting for you to think you have won so that they can produce another budget that pays tenderpreneurs and creditors, foreign creditors, before it thinks about Kenyans. They are waiting for you to sleep so that they can change the police personnel, transfer a few people, and have the same violence come back a year or a few months from now. So I think what we have to do is be diligent and think about what are the propositions, what are the ideas that we are organizing around, and make those ideas so strong and so powerful that it's not just one generation who will fight for them, but our father's generation, our mother's generation will also fight for them. And just for that message, just for that point, a few days ago I got a text from a former freedom fighter, and he reminded me that that was the reason that they went to the forests, to have a generation rise up and take back their country when they felt that they had lost their country. More power. More power. More power. The Gen Zs are not orphans. They have parents who protect them, who gave them money, who are so proud of them today. But let me just say that there are grandparents also that have seen what is capable of this generation and are now looking forward to that alpha generation to see what will come next. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. A better applause for the panel, Gloria and Irungu Houghton. Thank you very much. You've all done very well. Really appreciate your time and your thoughts. Allow me now to welcome for the transitional period before we get to the next panel, the President of the Commonwealth Lawyers Association, Dr. Peter Maynard, to take a minute or less to give us some reflections. A round of applause, please, for Dr. Maynard. You're next. Yeah? Okay. I can use this. Hey, how are you? Good. Sure. You can use the podium.
He wanted to make some remarks.
Okay.
Yeah. Just give a brief.
Okay. Asante Sana for the very warm welcome. I'm Peter Maynard. I'm president of the Commonwealth Lawyers Association, which is a group of 56 jurisdictions around the world, including Kenya. And I had intended to visit Kenya some time ago, and so I thought it would be appropriate to come now, also before the meeting of the Law Society of Kenya elections. No to police brutality. No to extrajudicial killings and abductions. Those are some of the fundamental principles of the Commonwealth Lawyers Association. Our objectives are simply to uphold human rights, the rule of law, access to justice, and the independence of judges and lawyers. And so I make just 2 points that we have observed the situation with great concern, and in solidarity with the Law Society of Kenya, we have also issued a statement, a statement condemning the arrest, abduction, and killing of civilians. And I wish to say that we are supportive of the Constitution and the rule of law. I encourage you all to continue to recognize the importance. You see, Kenya, from an outsider's perspective, Kenya has one of the most progressive constitutions in the world. But constitutions are just words. It's important for individuals, institutions, both government as well as protesters, to continue to recognize and implement the Constitution. My perspective is a little different in Kenya. I am inspired by my late grandmother, who was born on a slave plantation. She was raised by her grandmother because her father had been killed by the colonial authorities, and also her mother had gone away to look for work.
And so I have been raised in a den of human rights activists. We have recognized the importance for economic transformation and also political transformation. And so as a teenager, I came to Kenya for the first time because Kenya has been an inspiration to the Global South and continues to be an inspiration to the Global South. And I encourage you to continue that because economic transformation will come through you. And so we also are concerned with making the CLA, my organization, fit for purpose, and particularly fit for the purpose of transforming the Global South, fit for economic transformation, fit for political transformation. And so I commend the human rights activists among you. I commend the Law Society of Kenya and the judges. We've had the CJ Emeritus is a very admirable figure. The President incumbent is also very admirable. And so in this challenging time, I encourage everyone to remember constitutionalism, to continue to give meaning to a very effective and powerful Constitution of Kenya, to continue to give effect to the rule of law. After all, we are after economic transformation, political transformation, in a setting of constructive dialogue, constructive engagement. Rule of law and governance is so very important. Understanding human rights and also human rights obligations. They're both sides, rights and obligations are so important. So with that, let me say thank you for having me here. I'm learning more and more from this very constructive session. And the Commonwealth Law Association continues to be in solidarity with the judges, with the lawyers, with human rights activists. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Maynard. Really appreciate it. Okay, all right. Let me welcome Cricket Rights to come give us the first interlude for the entertainment, then we go to the next panel. Cricket Rights, where you at?